Hello, Canada. Hello, United States of America. And greetings to all of you here in Panama and all over the planet. My name is KevinJJohnston. This is the Kevin J. Johnston Show that runs every single Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We have to apologize for the rough start tonight. Rumble just did not accept the live for some reason, but here we are. We got her all fixed up because that is what I do. I solve problems, even though the world throws more problems at me than it ever should, that any man should have to deal with. That's all right. I'm still smiling. I just deal with it because, well, who else is gonna? This is your questions answered part 45. So we're going to be taking on any questions that you have. Nothing is off the table. We talk about politics. We talk these Tuesday nights anyway. Politics, taxes, money, finance, commerce. Yes, if you guys want to discuss anything to do with the radical left, the Trump the future Trump administration, the elections, new laws being passed in Canada. Doesn't matter what the question is. We're going to address it tonight. The trolls have usually infiltrated the Your Questions Answered shows, but who cares about them? If the question is funny, we'll address it. If it's really ridiculous, we're just going to block the trolls and move on. So question number one is, do you think that Michelle Obama is a man? Well, yeah, I do. It's Michael, not Michelle. Twice, Barack Obama, twice, when he was making addresses to all of his generals and the U.S. Navy, he referred to Michelle as Michael. He did that himself. When you're perpetually lying to people, and I mean perpetually lying to people, at some point, you're going to make a mistake. You're going to actually slip up and tell the truth. And that's exactly what he did a number of times. So, yeah, Michelle Obama is actually Michael Obama, is definitely a man. And Barack Obama to this date still is the worst president in American history. Even though we could say that it was Joe Biden, I'm going to say that it was Barack Obama because his attack on the United States of America was deliberate. Joe Biden is completely senile. He's suffering from dementia. He's no clue where he is. At least the debate with him and Trump let the world see that, putting the Democrats in the full panic mode. So that would mean anything that Joe Biden was doing was not actually him. It was his party. It was Kamala and friends using him as the puppet that he always was. But Barack Obama, everything that he did to sabotage the United States was done deliberately. That made him the absolute worst. That's it's another diversity hire gone wrong, is what it is. Now, something else that I wanted to just point out is I took a trip to Washington, D.C., and it was just after Barack was out of office. I don't know if anybody out there saw the ridiculous painting that he had made of himself, but every single president has a painting made of themselves. It's a portrait, and it goes in the Smithsonian Institute of Portraiture. So on the top floor, all the presidents who have ever sat in office, they all get a chance to have a portrait made. Now, the most ridiculous one was Bill Clinton's. It was awful. It was a bunch of teardrops meant to shape his face. You'd never be able to tell in 100 years what the hell you're even looking at. It was that bad. And it was on this big canvas that was 4 feet wide by 6 feet high. Most of the portraits were normal portraits. Well, Barack Obama's, his was probably 4 foot by 5 foot. And it was him sitting in a chair with a bunch of green leaves around him. But the pose, it looks like he's floating in space, and it looks like he's gay as hell, which of course we know that he was. So Barack Obama was always putting out the incorrect portrait of himself to all of America. He was a traitor. And the part that bothers me about it is that there's just so many people that thought he was a hero only because he was black. Everyone thought the whole world was going to be better because Barack Obama was black. I talked to a few people at Smithsonian, especially overweight black women would line up in the Smithsonian just to stand in front of Barack's portrait and take pictures of it. Oh my God, he was so great because he was black. And I would ask people, could you maybe tell me why you liked him? And it's, well, because he's the first black president. That's all we got. And I had to remind him, no, he was only half black. He wasn't fully black. He's half white. And you'd say that, and of course, they would be in denial, or they would just get rip-roaring angry about it and call me racist, which, of course, is the go-to for anybody who does not have a constructive argument to bring forward on any issue whatsoever. So, everyone, that's my answer for Barack Obama. And so someone's saying here, you are so lost and happy you left Canada. Okay. Could you rephrase that? I didn't quite catch that statement. The grammar's a bit off. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that. Tonight's Your Questions Answered, part 45. We're just going to go ahead and answer any and all questions that any of you have, regardless of the subject matter. We will go ahead and answer those. No, Ed will not be joining us tonight. As I said, Ed is restructuring his own life. He's looking for property elsewhere. Good for him. He is keeping himself incredibly busy. So I'm just going to say, Ed, whenever you're ready, pop on back and we will chit chat to the entire world. All right. I'm just going to check each room as I go by. We are on TikTok here. We're on Rumble, Facebook, Live, YouTube, everything else over here. Okay. Chris is asking or saying here, Kevin, I was considering putting my home into a corporation. Will I have to pay for the land transfer tax, capital gains tax, mortgage penalty, and so on? No. What you do is you register a numbered corporation. Hey, DJ Flo, good to see you, man. It's been a long time. We get a numbered corporation open for you if you want to get your property protected within the confines of a numbered corporation. Now, this is Canada, of course. You are allowed at any time to do an update to your home ownership records, your deed, if you will, your title. So here's you, the owner of your house. You just add your numbered corporation here, and in a month later or so, you just remove you. All right, that's it. It's a matter of adding the numbered corporation and then later removing yourself. Completely legal to do. The banks don't like it because they don't get to charge you all those mortgage penalties. But if you do have a mortgage, just keep your mouth closed about it. You got the mortgage. You're not obligated to tell the bank, oh, by the way, I changed title to a numbered corporation that I own. You know, on that one, keep your mouth closed. If you're going to be getting mortgages these days, people in Canada, and you're going to the federal lending institutions, please try to get at least 10-year terms. This 5-year term nonsense it's nonsense. And a lot of people are, they're qualifying. You see, it's a dirty game that the banks are going to play where they'll give you a 5-year term on your mortgage, knowing that they're not going to renew it in the future. This is just simply what they do. So if they're not going to renew it in the future, you're screwed. And you have to go to a private lender anyway. So try your very best to get your hands on the 10-year terms, not 5. I also don't really recommend that you get mortgages in Canada anymore in one of the big 5 chartered banks. It's really of no advantage to yourself to do that. The bank, you know, you could say that the bank might find out, but it's not very common that the bank goes looking at people's deeds to see if a property was changed to a numbered corporation. In fact, I don't know banks at all that do that. The banks themselves are happy to get the mortgage in place. They're happy to have your payments coming in. So long as payments are coming in, they've done their job. Now, if they were to do an audit of the property, which is not common, they'll see that it's switched. They're definitely going to call you in and ask you what happened. Always have a backup plan, which is to have your application filled out for a private lender. So you can just go to your private lender and get a private loan within just a couple of days, which is not that difficult to do. I've got contacts in Toronto that can get that kind of thing done. Just 1 or 2 days for a private loan. Now, if you've been paying a mortgage for about 5 years, the odds are pretty good you've got the principal down quite a bit. So when you go to get that loan with the private company, you've already put the 25% in. It makes it very easy to get your hands on that. All righty. So let's just move into all your questions and answers here. Mverse, even 30-year mortgages, so long as you've got a mortgage, that what really gets on my nerves the most in Canada is that the banks will say, hey, you can't afford a $1,350 per month mortgage, but please be my guest and go and pay $2,400 in rent. That drives me mental. I can't stand the federal banks in Canada for that reason. So if you can get 30-year term, by all means, I mean, you can always pay it off early. And remember this, everyone panics. I don't want to pay my house off all the way because I'll get a penalty. So whenever you have a long-term mortgage and there's going to be a ridiculous penalty to paying it off early, then all you do is you pay off 99% of your house. You leave $5,000 that you don't pay off so that it's always there, and just keep paying into it until your term is done on auto deposit. Nothing wrong with that. I've played these games before with banks where I carried a mortgage in Mississauga. I got really upset. Got really angry with this guy. He was this little Chinese dude that was just getting on my nerves, something fierce. So when it came time to actually paying out my mortgage completely, I paid off everything but $1,000. So my mortgage payments dropped to $25 a month. Yeah, and I said, I want to go on auto deposit, please. And he was saying, well, why don't you just pay the penalties? I said, well, why don't you mind your own business? There you go. It's my mortgage. I'll do what I want with it. And I left that thing on the house for 4.5 years. And then I just continued to complain to the bank about how immature this guy was, how rude he was, and so on. And eventually the bank said that it would be okay if I paid off my loan due to my treatment at no penalty. So if you're going to be paying something off with the bank, don't be afraid to throw bank staff under the bus. Who cares about them? Really, it doesn't matter. You know, the guy who's working at the bank is not you. It's not your family. You have no obligation or responsibility to somebody that you're throwing out of the bus. You're paying off your home is business. It's business. It's nothing personal, but you can tell the bank that you are taking that particular person's behavior personally. If someone loses a job because I'm complaining to save myself a bundle of dough, I don't care. I'll tell you the truth, I don't care. There are industries that I would never work in because they're all scumbags that work there. Banking in Canada is absolutely one of them. I would never be a cop. I would never work for the courts in Canada. I would never, in this lifetime, work on any particular government projects where my job was to harm anyone at all or to take people's money. I wouldn't do any of that stuff. But if you're doing business with me and you're one of these faceless corporations and you decide that you want to try to get more money out of me outside and on top of the agreement that we made, you better believe I'm going to give you a difficult time, and I'll just keep pushing and pushing and pushing until I get what I want. And that is one thing Canadians do not do, is push and push and push and push and push until they get what they want. Canadians, unfortunately, allow the banks and the government to put a stick up their ass and turn it sideways, which is not a good thing ever. You always got to push and fight. Understand that your home, it's an incredible investment because real estate is safe. Even when the markets crash, which in my adult life they've done twice, they always bounce back. Property will always bounce back just because of the way human beings think about what property is. They always will view a piece of land and a house as a real thing. It's difficult to get somebody who doesn't understand the stock market or the crypto market or the gold market to invest in that and have them perceive it as something with intrinsic value. They won't, but everybody will perceive a home as something with intrinsic value. Thinking about how I'm living my life now. I've in my past I've owned 3 houses. One of them was over 3,300 square feet. It was beautiful. I love the place. But now what I've done is I've reduced my entire life to 1 suitcase, 1 backpack, and 1 laptop bag. And I'm doing that because I've chosen to focus on making money. My day is wake up, bit of exercise, make money, go to the gym, some more exercise, come back, make money until I'm exhausted, crash. That is what I do. So my life has been simplified, and I've elected to do this for the next 5 years. So any property that I'm buying in the next 5 years is not going to be a home to live in. It's going to be something to rent out. I want to become a landlord. That's going to be my next big thing. On top of all the tax work that I do for Canadians and Americans, I want to be a landlord. I want hundreds of properties between now and the age of 70. Why? Because I want to build a family legacy. Any kids or grandkids I have, I want to train them intently on how the entire market works so that any properties that I'm buying could be generational. The family could be landlords for the next 30, 40 generations if that type of teaching continues to be passed on. I had this conversation with my son. He's in his 20s now. And I said to him, because I've had a good life. I've had a hard life, but I've had a good life. I've done all my partying. I've had my dozens of it's more than dozens, lovers, girlfriends, whatever. I've done all that nonsense. I've done the vacation bit, the surfing, throwing myself out of airplanes, all the rock climbing, the camping. I've had a lot of really good times, but none of that stuff is going to make me money for the next 5 years. So I'm buckling down. It's going to be make money. I told my son, let me be the guy that makes as much as possible, train you in every facet on what I'm doing to earn that. You find yourself a dynamite woman and have lots of kids, have between 6 and 10, so that so long as I am alive, once they get to be 8, 9, 10 years of age, I can start putting together training for them to get them to understand money. Never mind that freaking school crap in Canada. Real training. We'll get real tutors to teach them real things, real math, real science, real finance, real money. It's got to start somewhere. So it'll be one of those things where maybe somewhere down the road, there's some big building and there's a painting of me with my hand in my pocket in a suit. You know, you've seen those paintings that are 10 feet high in a lot of these buildings. It'll be that. And I'm not doing it so I can be immortalized in a painting. I'm doing it so that there will be a family line that continues on. I've only got 30 years left of my lifespan, so I got to make it count. And that's why I'm saying your property, your home is, you definitely need somewhere to live, and you definitely need something that's going to have value forever. If you have a house that you want to call home forever, I get that. There's a lot of old world money where they've had the same estate for 200-300 years. If that's the type of thing that you're thinking, great. But at the same time, also don't forget that you can take a house that you've got paid off and leverage it to buy more property at a later time. And for the men out there, I know that when you're dealing with decisions like this to buy more properties and whatnot, when you're married, ladies, I know you'll take offense, but if you do, that's on you. It's not on me. But women desire stability and comfort. I don't respect that. So when I had a house that was worth about $1.1 million in my hometown of Mississauga, but the thing needed a lot of work. It had to be repaired. Even though I was house rich, I was cash poor, couldn't afford to really fix the place. My neighbor had a house that was completely revamped. So I said to my then wife, let's mortgage this place for the entire value of the house across the road. Let's buy the house across the road, live in that one, and we'll turn this one into a rooming house where we could have 8 rooms in this place that we can rent out. And if we go on the appropriate Ontario government program, then what we could do is have the government pay us directly for the rent on those rooms. And it was nothing but fear and tears and crying. She got mad at me for 3 weeks for even suggesting it. And I eventually told her, you have lost my respect. You know, the fact that you didn't even let me finish the sentence, you've lost my respect. I showed her the numbers, said, look, it's infinite wisdom and logic. I'm thinking about the family's future and you're thinking about your fucking feelings. I was mad. I was fuming, actually. So it came out that she wanted stability and that she actually did think it was a good idea. She told me this 10 years later. It's a good idea. I just wanted stability. Like, life is stressful. I said, well, yeah, that's life. Life is stressful. She had stated that all she wanted to do was just be comfortable on the couch in the room that she liked. I said, yeah, but the room was falling apart and the windows were leaking and whatnot. So it really wasn't all that great a room. Feelings. So this ex of mine got in my way. She got in the family legacy way. We could have had 2 properties across the road from each other. One of them, I worked it out to make $37,000 a year with all the room rentals. Now, as a man, this is what I should have done. I should have told her I'm going it alone. The house is in my name. I don't need you. And if you want to leave, there's the door. I should have just put my foot down and told her I'm doing it anyway. And I'm going to go on this record now that I've had a taste of multiple lovers, multiple girlfriends, married for a while, whatever you can call the people I date now, whatever you want to call these things. They're in my way. It's this whole thing about, I want stability. I hate that. I don't want stability. I'm not interested in comfort. I am not interested in being in a comfort zone where every single day at the same time, I can flip on the TV and sit back and play video games, knowing that I don't have a care in the world. Well, that doesn't make me a better person. It makes me a slob. It makes me an absolute slob. So I will never get married again. Because I never in this lifetime am going to want anybody who's going to get in the way of my decision making. Once I make a decision to do with finance, property purchasing, gold, silver, whatever it might be, I'm just doing it. I'm not asking anyone's permission, and I don't care about any human being's feelings when I'm making money. And that is something that I would want all of you out there to start to understand, is that feelings are absolutely worthless, especially in our modern day. They will get in your way. The desire for comfort will destroy you, absolutely destroy you. Yeah, I'm not going to spin the camera around, but this place that I'm in, this is the first property that I purchased here in Panama. It's small. It's an 800 square foot condominium. It doubles as my workspace. As you can see, I've done nothing to the walls behind me at all. It's got a very basic kitchen. It's got a couch. It's got a small dinner table. The view is incredible. But I've got a closet with enough clothing to last me about 6 or 7 days, throw everything in the wash, and that's it. It's a simple, simple life. Now, a couple of ladies have come over here and they've seen how simple my life is. And it just instantaneous, bah, 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 bah. You don't have enough. Maybe you're going to leave soon. You're like, yeah, maybe. I might pick up and leave soon, but what does it matter what I have in my closet? So there is this, the purchase price was $165 US for an 11th floor view on a corner unit with a view of the Panama Canal and downtown Panama City and Ancon Mountain and Metro Mountain and so on. The view is absolutely incredible. I've got windows that are 12 feet high and 15 feet wide here. They're huge. And there's everywhere. I've got four windows that size. So I love it, but the lifestyle for me is simple. And Travis, if you're trying to get a hold of me, just do so on my website, please. It's KevinJJohnston.me. Use the contact form, put Travis in the subject line. I'll get back to you. Could someone please put my website address down below? So maybe, like I'll be answering questions tonight, but the question that I do want to ask of women in North America really is, what the hell, man? What is it about this stability thing that you all put in your heads and you all try to live by? It's never been explained to me by a woman. It was explained to me by two men who are psychologists about the whole thing. But I always wanted to get women's take on this. I want stability. It's not a real thing, man, especially in this world. Are you kidding me? What stability do you think you're going to have in Canada and the United States? And I guess the other question would be is, why is that good? Why is that good? Because I'll tell you, it's not. From an outside observer, from a guy who's had many girlfriends and lovers and all whatever, I can say that when I see a modern woman wake up and go to work and then come home and have dinner, it's plunk, it's in front of the TV, which is not something I enjoy at all. So I usually in the evenings, I'm up, I'm riding my bike, I'm rollerblading, I'm jogging, I'm doing whatever it takes. And that's the life they live. So at some point, I got to my mid-20s and I started asking the question, you feel stable right now, don't you? Oh, yeah, everything's stable. I got everything I want, everything I need. So, okay, well, what would happen if you lost your job tomorrow? Well, I don't know. I'd panic. And you could see the fear in their face just thinking about the idea. It's hypothetical. They're thinking about it and the emotion just kind of kicks in. So this idea that modern women have of stability being a real thing, yes, it's real to them, but it's frightening to men like myself who think a lot, because I know on a moment's notice, anything can be taken from you. Anything. Someone can die. A ladder can fall on your head and cripple you for the rest of your life. A truck could drive by, kick up a piece of glass. It could go right through your eye, blind you in that eye, and rip half your brain apart. And you forget who you are. Anything can happen anytime. You can drown brushing your teeth. This has happened to people in the world. There's no such thing as stability and control, everybody. And you have to live your life according to that. You've always got to be ready on a moment's notice to put everything in a bag and leave. You got to be ready on a moment's notice to sell everything you have, to be able to survive for a while, enter survival mode for a while, to be able to rebuild. You are going to be at a few points in life, maybe wealthy if you do things right, maybe not. But when you do things wrong, which all of us will inevitably do, prepared to lose, and prepared to lose a lot. So the desire for North American women to have this stability thing, it actually does piss me off a lot. So for me, the decision is any relationships I have are going to last from Saturday at maybe 6 p.m. to Sunday around 9 a.m. That's the most that I can give of myself to anyone, because that's all I want to give. Anything beyond that, they're going to get in the way of me building a legacy for my children that they can then carry on down the pathway. Now, why this legacy thing is so important is I've listened to some really intelligent people speak. I like to listen to hyper intelligent people speak. When morons, I got to turn the thing off. I can't listen to stupid people talk anymore. One of the most intelligent things I heard is that in North America, what we do is we take our kids, they turn 18 and we kick them out the door. We tell them, yeah, I survived. You go out there and go make your own way. So what you're doing is you're taking your kid who's under your, not your control, but under your influence, and you're throwing them out of the house, and you're forcing them to get some god-awful piece of crap job that is not going to build character or intelligence or experience in any way. And you're going to make that kid pay someone that you don't know rent. So your kid is going to pay someone else's mortgage instead of their own mortgage. Now think about how crazy that is. What I told my kids is that, yeah, I left when I was 18, but I left for considerably different reasons. I just couldn't stand my parents. I didn't like them as people. I thought the two of them were, well, like I've just talked about, TV watchers. They get home from work, dinner, television. I have nothing to talk about with people like that. So I left to go and make something better for myself. I lived in a pickup truck for a year and a half, but I don't regret it in any way. I learned a lot. And because I was living in a pickup truck, I had no rent bill. But at the same time, I would not want my kids to go and live that lifestyle now with all the crazies that have been imported into North America. I don't want that. So I did tell my kids, stick around until you're about 25 or so, unless you want to go out and make your own way. But I'm not going to make you go and do it. Save every penny that you have, because I'm going to want to get you into your own property. And then throughout the course of you paying off that property, I'm going to want to get more properties that one day you will own and control, and make sure that you know how to treat them responsibly. And that's how men think, ladies, versus how women think. Now, I'm completely unable to think like somebody who wants to be comfortable. So I've been single now for 5 years, because that comfort thing comes up a lot. Stability. Oh my God. As soon as I hear that word. So I'm just, for the ladies out there in North America, this is me giving you some advice. It's friendly advice. I'm not angry. I'm not hate-filled. This is not misogyny. It's advice. Accept the fact that there is no such thing as stability. Accept the fact that if something is good right now, it's not going to be good at some point in the future. And when things turn to crap in the future, they're not going to be crap forever. All right. So life is going to go up and down, and you're going to have to roll with the punches. Now, for the ladies in North America out there, when life does get to be a little bit difficult, what you need to do, if you're involved with a man, you're married to a man, living with a man, boyfriend, whatever it is, don't argue with him. The planet is not his fault. I've gone through this with every single solitary girlfriend. There's been times in life where I've been wealthy, and the women just flock. And I decided, because something that I hate is being shit tested by women, I would shit test them and say, yeah, you're not going to believe this. I lost my job. I had a chick just leave that day because it was a 6-figure job. She just left, thinking, okay, good, glad she's gone. I called her after she left, saying, I lied to you, just for the record. I still got the job and the money. So I wanted to just say that when things go to shit, don't fight with your spouse. Women, Don't tell your spouse that you deserve more because you're a woman. Don't say that I thought my life would be better by this age. Well, who cares what you thought? So what? I don't understand that one. Don't make demands or don't make stupid statements like, I'm in my 50s now and I deserve vacations. What, because you turned 50? I'm in my 50s. I would never say I deserve vacations and expect someone else to pay for it. So you don't do these things. You have no idea how much that takes the focus away from your man. So if your man's trying to solve a problem and you're screaming at him about your problems or your particular outlook on your problems, typically it's your outlook, not the real problem itself. You're destroying your marriage and you're taking his focus away and he can't solve the problem. So the problems you're having will last a lot longer. Don't fight with your man. There is nobody out there that really listens to the truth. Whenever I say these things, the first thing that happens is my email box gets flooded from women telling me what a misogynist I am, and from beta cuck males telling me what a misogynist I am. And they always ask stupid questions like, why do you hate women? Most common questions asked, who hurt you? Do you have mom issues? And have you ever had a date? Those are always the three. And they're meant to be insults. I know they are, but I will answer them sardonically as if they were real questions. So I'm asking the ladies out there, please don't get angry. When you're hearing facts like what I'm spouting right now, it's a guy like me would much rather see the nuclear family be a thing again and to see men and women enter into marriage contracts and stay together for as long as it takes to get through all of the problems that they have. But everybody just walks away from their problems now. Everyone just walks away. And everybody, men included, everyone thinks that they've been wrongly done by every single day and that somehow the spouse, their partner, is to blame. So I'm not going to sit there and say that my ex-wife was responsible for any decisions that I did not make. That is on me. But I will state that I'm just a little bit disappointed that I have never once met a woman in my life who was involved in my personal life, who would sit at a table with me with a pen and a book and write down the logical things that we need to address and then the plan of attack. That's never happened once. With my son, who's less than half my age, I jump on one phone call with him. He's already getting into investments. It was one phone call. That's it. So I just want to say that I will be working with men as much as I possibly can when I am making decisions that will better myself. I have a lot of women as clients, a lot, and I do the best job I possibly can for them because that is what I am paid to do. It's what I do for people. It's not that I hate women, everybody. I do not hate women. But what I do hate is how spoiled society has become. So any of the commentary that I'm making is actually negative commentary on our society. So the women out there in North America become self-centered and greedy, and just listen to them talk about the fact that, man, my man has to give me a wedding ring of $500,000. He better make $1 million a year. Well, you're high. You're absolutely high. But then you've got all these weak beta males out there that just accept this. They'll go get 6 mortgages on a house they own to buy a ring for some chick that doesn't deserve it. And then they wonder why the chick has no respect for them. Yeah, think about that. Weak males have ruined our society every bit as much as self-centered feminist women have. So when I'm making commentary, ladies, like this, it's to help you. Please, ladies, don't take offense to what I'm saying. Understand that it's a rough world out there and things will get good and things will get bad. You've got to have the intestinal fortitude and, of course, the mental strength and the will to persevere, keeping as much of your family intact as you possibly can whilst you are taking on the world. By the way, for anybody out there that thinks that their children are a burden to them, and you say stupid things like, if I didn't have these kids, I could be having so much fun, blah, 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 blah. If you're someone who does not enjoy your children, I really don't want to know you. Children are not a burden. They are a gift. Innocence is an incredible gift. Watching my kids grow when they were toddlers, it was the best time of my life. I enjoyed every minute of it. Getting them on rollerblades for the first time, getting them riding a bike for the first time, getting them kicking a soccer ball for the first time. Yeah. Getting them to tie their shoes for the first time. Hell, even potty training. Yeah. When they use the can by themselves for the first time, it's like, yeah, all right, high five, buddy. Yeah. All that stuff. It's all magical. I enjoyed every minute. I took my kids everywhere. I'd get invited out to party all the time. So, guys, for real, no. You're asking me to go get loaded in a bar instead of playing hide and seek with my kids? Are you kidding? What would make you think drinking in a bar is more fun than that? But there's a lot of people out there that view the drinking in the bar as the priority and the fun thing to do. And they'll say, oh, if it wasn't for these kids, I'd be having so much fun. And I know that a lot of women out there, you've been listening to the feminist movements. What you do is you leave marriages because you're not happy. Who cares if you're not happy? You're going to break your family up because you're not happy. Happiness, it's not your kid's job to make you happy. It's not your husband's job to make you happy. It's your husband's job to keep the house afloat, to provide for his family. It's your job to be happy and make sure the kids are happy. That's on you. That's a duty you took on when you said I do. I don't think you understand what that whole marriage contract is all about. And here's one. M verse 666 says, children saved my life 100%. Well, I understand that kind of a comment, my friend. My children didn't save my life. My children made my life. They absolutely made my life. I'm on the phone with them every day. You know, the most important thing in the world is family. Absolutely, it's family, which is also why I'm still very good friends with their mother. I'm very good friends with my ex. There's no reason to carry any particular type of animosity. We're not compatible. What we do, right? But we certainly can get along. And I would encourage divorced couples, for the sake of whatever family legacy you're planning on building, to do your best to get along. It just makes sense to get along. Yeah, you loved each other at one point. You can't just try to get along. All right. Yeah, Chris says there's no such thing as stability. Anything correct? Yeah, there's no such thing as control. I hear that a lot. Oh, I want control of my life. Well, you're in control of your decisions, and you're in control of how you react to stimulus, but you're not in control of what anyone else does. You got to keep that in mind. So always stay vigilant, because you never know what somebody else is planning or plotting to do to you behind your back. All righty. Yeah, someone's laughing at the thought of people drowning in toothpaste. Well, it's careless people. There are careless people out there who drink and it goes down the wrong tube and the toothpaste goes down with it. Or maybe they've got some of that cinnamon stuff. People like to brush their teeth with cinnamon now. That'll close your throat up. Yeah, of course you're going to drown. It's happened. A lot of documented cases of that kind of thing going on. All right, I'm just going to check the Facebook room here and have a look and see what the questions are there. My name is KevinJJohnston, everybody. This is Your Questions Answered, part 45. Any questions you have tonight about any subject matter, we will go ahead and answer those. And I see there are some questions here. All right, Jason asks a good question. This is something new that sock boy Justin Trudeau has stated that he wants to do, and that's to have the Canada Revenue Agency automatically file taxes on behalf of Canadians who have not filed their taxes. Wow. Completely illegal, but he doesn't care about that kind of thing. Here's how the CRA functions. The Canada Revenue Agency, if you don't do your taxes, what they'll do is they will guess what your taxes are. And they will send you a letter saying, we have assessed you. Now, the assessment is a guess. And that word assessment doesn't mean a damn thing, except for we've guessed that you owe this money. They send you a letter saying that we have assessed you and our records show that you owe $40,000. You either pay this balance or reply to this letter within 14 days. You reply to the letter with an objection and you ask them for an appeal on their decision. Hire me, I redo your taxes, and all that stuff is gone. It goes away right away. But what Trudeau wants to do is he wants to have the Canada Revenue Agency submit your tax return for you on your own behalf without your consent, and then they would have a reason to try to garnish wages and try to garnish your bank account. That's what he's after here. So what Justin Trudeau is going to do is he's going to help me make $1 million very quickly, because we right now are drafting up the legal letters that will tell the CRA that they are never to engage in that practice. So people will be able to put their name in, download the legal letter, and fax it in to the CRA. And we'll charge something small for it, like $25, $30. You know, if 1 million letters of those get downloaded, well, they've made me a $25 million NR. That's all that Trudeau is doing. He's opening up the floodgates now for people like myself who know what the laws are and who are willing to charge the minimal amount I possibly can get away with and still feed myself to get these problems solved. Yes, Ian Brown, the Canada Revenue Agency was breached again. Hackers keep hitting them. Hackers just keep hitting the CRA all of the time. I guess what they're looking for is records that would lead to the theft of property and or money out there, because the CRA does have way too many of your personal records, unfortunately, everybody. And that does suck, but things are what they are. All right. Let's have a peek here at the rest of your questions. All right, so I'm going through your questions. There's a lot of statements here, folks. This is not your statements tonight. This is your questions answered tonight here. Okay, so here's a good question. Where do I start if I want to study what CRA policies and hacks you have? Well, I haven't written the book yet. I've been studying tax law for 40 years in Canada. I've been studying American corporate law, corporate tax law, for about 6 months now. I have not written the book, if you will, on how my tactics work, but at the same time, my tactics are roughly only about a year old. Now, they're all working incredibly well, and I mean incredibly well, but I'm not going to share my secrets yet. Because what I need to do is I need to discover every problem imaginable that people can have and get the solutions for them before I start putting books out explaining to people how to get this to happen. It's called proprietary stuff. Obviously, with the amount of work I've done, I don't want to just give the information away, but I do serve my clients quite well. What I'm getting at here is I've only done taxes now for about 400 people this year. It's a lot. That's a lot of taxes to do. But I want to be to the point where I've done taxes for 10,000 different people, because that's 10,000 potential problems that I will then have solutions for. Imagine how good that book will be when I've got 10,000 answers to 10,000 unique problems. 400 is good. 10,000 is better. So bear with me for a while. I'm going to start to publish information. Eventually, I'll hire a couple of more people to just sit and take the notes, dictate everything I say, and ghost write books for me so that I can read them and approve them later on and then get them out to the public. Because I do enjoy writing. It's just there's no time left. You know, for those who read my book, Masks Are Bullshit, where I completely debunked the entire COVID thing, I will admit to you, I thoroughly enjoyed writing that book. I had a really good time doing it. The research was a whole lot of fun. And then seeing the book at the end was also fantastic, but it is a lot of work to get a book written, a lot. So I'll be working with someone for the next book I do. I'll be working with someone who will take all of my thoughts, put them all down, and then we'll correct them all. But I'll have to let them do all the corrections of the language and the tweaking of the layout. Yeah. And again, no regrets on the amount of time it took to write those books. I've done 5 now. I have no regrets about the time it takes. I wish I had time to write more because I really enjoy it that much. Okay, Kev, were you an autodidact all your life? I got into self-learning in my 20s. Probably. I couldn't accept the reality of a lot of what was going on in the world. And oh, by the way, for those who don't know, an autodidact is a self-taught person. For me, school all the way back to grade 1 was like prison. I hated it. Like sitting in rows of desks listening to some idiot speak at the front of the room. I couldn't comprehend why I was there. This is not how I learn. For me, I would watch a movie or a documentary, or I would watch something being done, and I'd remember it forever. Forever. Some teacher talking, chalkboard. It sounds just like the teachers in the old Charlie Brown cartoons. Wah, 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 except not as intelligent. I despised all of it. Catching on to the reality of life around me. I hit age 16 and everything just kicked in. I thought, all right, something that I love hot women. I even figured that out in my early teens. And I realized if I want hot chicks hanging around all the time, I either have to be wealthy and powerful or put on the aura of being that. Now, how do I do that? Not going to learn here in school. There is no way at all to learn how to, quote unquote, pick up chicks and buy hot cars in school. So I just didn't bother showing up to school anymore. And I would go and talk to the pros, the people who actually lived their careers. I would go and talk to all of them. And in doing that, I learned the real world. And all the stuff I was being taught by business professionals was all like hyper successful business professionals. It was all exactly opposite what we were learning in school. All of it was. So when I started doing everything opposite the way society would do things, my life got better. And I mean by a lot. And I don't want to say, I'm not here to sound like a braggart, cocky loser, but I liked the idea that it was very easy to attract a whole bunch of good looking women to me when I was young, like 18, 19, 20, 25 and whatnot, so long as I was able to keep the front up that, look at me, I'm successful. So I'd go out and I'd get myself a dynamite car and I would make deals with friends of mine who either owned houses or they had big open spaces and say, listen, man, let me just lie. Let me lie and say that I'm a part owner of this house for a while. He didn't give a shit because, we're bros. These are the things that I would do. I'd had to put the act on. And then one day I got fed up with the act. I said, you know what? I actually want to be wealthy. And then I left Canada at age 25 and I got wealthy in the United States over the course of 4 years, went back to Canada and got unwealthy again, got broke, in fact. That's the next life lesson is you have to go where your skills and talents are wanted and where the money is. And now realizing Canada's dead, I will never enter Canada again until there's a complete shift in government, but also a complete shift in the attitudes of the country. Because if I was going to go back to Canada now, remember how we talked about focus earlier in the show? I wouldn't be able to focus on a damn thing. I like the fact that now I don't have these god-awful distractions out there keeping me away from my set goals. My set goals, it's no longer pussy. I'm not interested in chicks beyond one night a week and only for a few hours. I have zero interest in that. I have interest in taking myself now to being hyper wealthy and powerful, but on my own terms, and doing so in a place like Panama here, where the government is not going to strip me of my wealth like the Canadian government did because I've got a big mouth. All right. There you go, people. So if you want to be smart and you want to be successful, do not learn from society. Go straight to the pros who have made their millions in the industries that you're interested in. Go buy them dinner. Just say, listen, I'm going to buy you dinner. I'm going to buy you cigars. I'm going to buy you whatever. Tell me your story. I've done that many times. I've bought a lot of dinners for a lot of professional men so that I could sit and listen to their business stories. And then, believe me, when you go Korean style and just keep buying liquor for the guy, and they tell you more and more and more and more about themselves. School sucks. And for young males out there, especially, please don't waste your time going to university in Canada or the United States. It's a pointless endeavor. Absolutely pointless endeavor. By far, I am right now the best guy to go to get taxes done in Canada, because I'm the only one out there that's not afraid of the CRA. And I don't have a degree in accounting. I don't even have an accounting certificate. I don't even have a high school diploma, everybody. They pulled my high school diploma from me for doing too well in the entrepreneurial class that they had when I was in the OAC year. Remember that bullshit back in high school? Yeah. So I don't have any certificates of any kind, and I don't want them. But I do have life experience, and I've got desire, and I've got drive, and I have goals. And now that I'm not in that bullshit country of Canada, I can meet my goals. I can get my goals done. And on a daily basis, damn it, I am meeting every single goal I set out for the day. I meet them now. Because the government here actually likes having me around. That's the best. The people like having me around. There is a lot that one can do here in Panama, because the Panamanians hate everything that Canada is. They don't want anything to do with the LGBTQs, the pride nonsense, the drag queen crap, the male, female, male to female, female to male, trans nonsense. That stuff doesn't fly here. It doesn't fly in Costa Rica or Argentina either. There's the left-wing nonsense does not fly. So guys like me or anyone who's similar to myself watching the show now, you'll do quite well when you take yourself out of these places. All righty. Great question from Grim Welding. Is it bad to pay yourself exclusively in dividends from your company? Never take a dividend. They're taxable. Never do that. Why would you do anything that's taxable, my friend? In corporate law in Canada, it's probably similar in the United States. If you put $1 million into your corporation to get the thing started, and you do this 20 years ago, and then you say to yourself, hey, you know what? I really want to get my hands now on the money that I put in. Then you do what's called a corporate withdrawal. So you have a meeting with the board of directors. You say, hey guys, company owes me $1 million, and I want $200,000 a year as a corporate withdrawal submitted to me January 1st for the next 5 years. And you can take that $200K out tax-free. It's a corporate withdrawal. If you say, I want my $1 million back as a dividend, you're going to get taxed on it. The CRA doesn't care. They don't care that it's actually a withdrawal. If you put down the word dividend, you're screwed. You pay taxes on it. Never do dividends. Always do corporate withdrawals. Keep in mind is that when you do put money into a corporation and computers and cars and services and whatever else it might be, when you're doing any of that, that counts towards the total. So if let's say you're going to open up a delivery company and you have 9 used vans, whatever the retail price of those vans are at that time all counts towards your initial investment, which means you could take that value in cash out at a later time, tax-free. Always do withdrawals. By the way, if any of you have accountants and the accountants are telling you to do a dividend because it's going to lower your tax, they're losers. Walk away. Get away from an accountant that says that. A dividend will screw you every single time. But if you do have an accountant who has screwed you with that dividend nonsense, get a hold of me, because I can refile your taxes properly as a corporate withdrawal and get you all that tax back that you've paid. There we go. Kevin, isn't it a good thing that the CRA is losing accounts? Well, Ian, yeah. The CRA is far too disorganized to concern themselves with what good tax strategists like myself are doing. Yeah, I mean, it's great that they're disorganized. I just think it's horrible that people's private information that the CRA is supposed to have secure is now up for grabs. You know, your private information is safer here with me. I've got a small warehouse in Panama, and your paperwork is put in there in a locker in a locked room of a locked office. When I say warehouse, it's about 3,000 square feet. That's a warehouse to Panamanians. So your files, your private files, are actually safer here with me than they are with the CRA. And the CRA, no, they're a joke. They really are. They have no capacity to get the right thing done no matter what they do. All right, just going through. Yeah, Robbie says, so you got married and went broke. How it is. All right. Travis, you're asking if I can address your question. Travis, I didn't see your question. If you could please resend that question to me. Appreciate that. Cindy, if you're having CRA trouble, just go to my personal website. My name, KevinJJohnston.me. Please don't message me on TikTok. There's 1,000 messages in there. I just can't get to them. I've hired a new lady who's going to eventually get to them, but I'm an email guy. I just don't have time to look at social media private messages. So please use my website. Could someone please put my website address in the bottom for Cindy there? Certainly do appreciate that. Robbie says, sorry, I'm a corporate accountant. I went to UFT. Robbie, you want me to show you what I do? Maybe you should come to Panama and work with me. Not for me, but with me. I'll blow your mind. Because if you start to do accounting, knowing the Excise Tax Act and the Income Tax Act inside and out, all of a sudden the whole world opens up to you. Got it? Just follow the act and you win. Oh, your son's a corporate lawyer? I got to talk to you and your son. Get a hold of me. Get a hold of me. I mean that. All right. We're just going to address the other questions that we have here, everybody. All right. There's a lot coming in. Okay, guys, this is your questions answered. So let's do the questions if we could. Let's do comments at a later time. Dave Buck, good question. Really good question. Will the Canada Revenue Agency find out about crypto earnings? Yes. Only if you tell them on your tax return. Don't ever tell the CRA about your crypto, about properties that you own, about collector cars that you own, about gold and silver that you've purchased. Don't tell the CRA anything more that they wouldn't already be able to know. And the only thing the Canada Revenue Agency can know is what's in your T4. They don't know anything else. So you don't tell them. Every single thing that you write on a tax return is voluntary. And the argument that I bring forward to back that statement is that, and you can do this for yourself, to submit a tax return, which is the only legal obligation that you have, you put your name and social insurance number at the top, sign the bottom, done, send it in. And they have what they want. You don't even have to put numbers on it. In fact, I recommend that you don't. There we go. Okay. Do I wear any color t-shirts except for black? Not really, no. This is more of a charcoal gray. I'm a coffee drinker, Anna. So from time to time, I put a coffee cup down too hard on the table and the coffee splashes out. You know, white t-shirts. You try getting coffee stains out of white t-shirts. It's equally as difficult to get coffee out of white t-shirts as it is to get blood out of white t-shirts. So stick with the dark colors. If I dribble coffee, nobody knows. There you are. All right. Hopefully that helps. And, you know, also the other thing too, Anna, is white's not my color. I don't look good in white shirts. So you'll never see me really wearing white dress shirts. It's not my color. I also don't look good with a shaved head. Certain styles are not for certain people. When am I going to do the show about bylaws that do not pertain to people and city employees? I'm a bushwhacker. I don't know. I'm starting to think that ship has sailed only because a show like that would be cool informationally, but it doesn't make money. So I'll summarize for you. In Canada, municipalities have bylaws, and these bylaws do not pertain to we the people. They only pertain to staff who work for the city. So when you've got these bylaw officers that want to give you a difficult time about anything, you just simply tell them. And you don't even have to use any particular legal language. Just say, turn around, walk away, leave me alone, or I'm calling the cops. And they just call the cops and say you've got someone threatening you. Bylaw officers, if you tell them to get lost or F off or whatever you want to tell them, they got to go. They got to go. You know, I banned every bylaw officer. When I lived in Mississauga, I banned them all from my property. They can't come on the property. They don't like it. Too bad. Don't care. I went to 2 of their houses late at night with no trespass notices. And I just ding dong, ring their doorbells. And they would call the cops and they'd scream, but it's legal. When I've got a notarized letter that I have registered with the courts to serve to you, I can ring your doorbell all night long. I can camp on your lawn if I wanted to until you take those court papers. So if you were a bylaw officer in Canada, coming to my house was stupid. Because I don't believe in your system. And I know the law. You have no authority. If it's something, believe me, and this is something maybe that we all need to start to adopt. If I have paid for something, if it's mine, I'm the law in that. When you're in my car, for example, I'm the law in that car. If you're going to do things like, I don't know, light up a cigarette, you're out of my car. Even if it's the middle of fucking nowhere, you're out. And I will not feel one bit bad if you freeze to death because you had the audacity to assume that that behavior was okay in my mobile castle. I've had people do this. Women. I've had women do this. Men have never done this to me. It's always been women that do this to me. I pull over, tell them, get out. Now, you're done. How dare you? I would never assume that lighting something that creates stink would be okay for me to do in someone else's property. One more thing, actually, if I'm driving, if you say something to me like, could you slow down? Don't drive so rough. Get out. Get out. I have never been in an accident in my car that was literally my own fault. Not once. I am a vigilant driver. Do you know why? I actually like being alive, and I don't trust the drivers on the road. So I'm not driving like a fool because I know that the other drivers out there are the ones who would be in my way if they see someone doing something a bit different. So I drive quite well. Thank you very much. And I did do some of those driver training courses, not the one for kids, but I'm talking how to get yourself out of fishtails, how to get yourself out of spins, that type of driving. I've done that stuff. And here in Panama, I've just found out that there is actually an Indy training course down here. Guess what I'm going to be doing after the new year? Oh, yeah, I'm going to learn how to drive cars really fast, like 200 miles an hour. If you're in my car, it's my property, it's my castle, and you tell me to slow down or take the corners a bit easier, whatnot, you're out. And you're never coming back in. Come into my house and tell me what I have to do inside my house, you're out. You're not coming back. You're a bylaw officer and you're stepping on my property, telling me what I can and cannot do. First off, you're banned. And secondly, I'm coming to your house with a warning letter telling you to stay away. I do not go to anybody's house or get in someone's car or go to someone's business and misbehave. And if I don't like someone's rules at their place, I will just graciously say, thank you for the hospitality. I must go now and leave. I don't even have to be rude when I'm walking out the door. There have been people's homes. I don't like the way they run them. I don't like the way that they behave in their homes. And I just excuse myself. And I do it politely. I'm not interested in bad manners and creating bad feeling that doesn't need to exist. Okay. So someone asked me a really good question here. Is the CRA afraid of you? Oh, yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, they are. I got this. So if you go to my Twitter page, which is Kevin the Jackal, I put this graphic out for everybody. You can actually, on TikTok, you can see it as well, everyone. If you head over to X or Twitter X, Kevin the Jackal, Jackal, you'll see the letter that the CRA had sent me. And it all just boils down to the fact that the CRA is looking for a way to have me not represent my clients. So let me see if I've actually got the file that I can read to you here. Oh, I do. Mr. Johnston, you have recently and repeatedly engaged with employees of the Canada Revenue Agency in a manner that is unprofessional, obstructionist, and at times threatening. Oh, is that true? Of course it's true. You have disseminated names, social media accounts, and contact information of CRA employees for the purpose of encouraging others to engage with those employees in the same manner. Well, no, it's not to just solely engage in that activity. That's a lie. It's so that everybody out there knows who the criminals are. Because everybody who works for the Canada Revenue Agency is a terrorist and a criminal, guilty of crimes against humanity. So I'm doing a public service for the people that pay their salary. Let's continue here. CRA employees have the right to carry out their duties in the workplace free from any harassment or vexatious behavior on your part. Actually, they don't. They don't. They're government employees and they work for me technically, and they work for all of you. So they don't have the right to anything. If they don't like the fact that there's a guy out there who's not afraid of them and who knows how to beat them, they can always quit. No one said they have to keep the job. So keep this in mind. None of you have the right to anything that you're not willing to fight for. And these CRA staff know that there is absolutely nothing that they can do when I go hunting down their social media accounts and expose them for who they are, the pieces of filth that they are. They don't have the right to have me not do that. Nobody watching has that right, and I don't have the right to stop any of you from looking at my social media. I'm the one that put that stuff out there. So anything on social media that you're seeing is entirely my fault. It's the same idea as CRA staff. It's their fault they took the job in the first place. It's their fault they chose to contact Canadians and threaten them. And they just so happen to have come across someone who hired me, and they can't handle it. Well, too bad. We'll continue on here. Effective immediately, should you need to communicate any information, questions, or concerns to the CRA, you may only do so in writing at the following address. And they give me an address in Winnipeg, a P.O. box. Okay, obviously, I'm not going to comply with that. This is not a court order. They are a government agency. They actually cannot stop me, a legal representative, representing my clients legally, from contacting them. They can't do it. So I'm going to ignore this. They're making a demand. I'm going to call it fleeting request. I'm going to ignore it. The answer is no. The CRA reserves the right to revoke or suspend your privileges as an authorized representative of a taxpayer if you fail to abide by certain terms and conditions of use. No, they don't. And even if they do, Mike, they've done this to two of my clients now, remove my name as their due representative. I tell my clients, put me right back on. Put me right back. Just fill the form out again and send it in again. Just keep doing it. It says the Responsibilities of Authorized Representatives Act on Canada.ca and on the CRA website outlines the responsibilities of the role, including the following. Now, this is their request. This is their wish list. This is not how I do things, so I do not have to comply. You shall act in the interest of your clients, employers, and interests of third parties. If you're paying me, if you are my client, you have paid me to protect you from the CRA. You better believe that I'm going to war with the CRA on behalf of my client and protecting my client. So they're making an accusation here of me not serving my clients. Wow. Bothersome that they would use this language, but of course they're going to try to deflect their responsibility. Then it says you agree not to disclose any taxpayer information that is provided to you by the Canada Revenue Agency to anyone else without the taxpayer's prior consent. Why the fuck would I do that? Hey, why would I do that? So they're making an accusation here that I am handing out my client's information. Are you kidding me? Even if I got subpoenaed to court to scrag on one of my clients, I'll tell the court, no, you're not getting it. If the court orders me to divulge the files that I have on my client, the answer is no. My client's files are here in Panama where they are safe, and they are locked up in a different city where they are safe. In fact, they're locked up in a place that you couldn't even break into if you tried. All right. And there's guard dogs, and there's a guard at the front gate of the actual complex. So your stuff is safer with me than it is in Canada. So naturally, I will not be disclosing any information. Do you know why the CRA is saying this? They're angry with me that I won't answer their questions about my clients. They'll ask questions like, do you know if Mr. Smith currently has any properties or homes? And I would say, well, that's not a question that Mr. Smith has authorized me to answer. Why would you ask me that question, by the way? I'm not going to tell them anything. Does Mr. Smith have a car? I'm afraid that's none of your concern. Do you have a question to do with CRA files? They're not getting through me at all. It bothers them, so they're making the accusation that I'm doing exactly opposite for my clients what I actually do. Then it said, oh, by the way, I have played videos of conversations that I've had with CRA representatives, but I always get my client's permission. We beep out their name and we beep out the file numbers. We beep all that out, destroy the original file so there's no mistaking it. And the file that we're going to be using for your enjoyment and your education then goes up without my client's information on it, but with their permission. Oh, yeah. And CRA just doesn't like the fact that my fans, and God bless you for it, are phoning all the people whose phone numbers I publish. But you have no right to privacy if that's a government phone number and you work for the government. None. Too bad for you. And then it says, you also agree to ensure the security and privacy of all transactions you conduct on behalf of the taxpayer. How many of you honestly out there think that I'm going to show any of you any of the invoices that I've written to any of my clients or anything that my clients have sent me? I can tell you that the odds are zero. It's never going to happen. So the CRA is again grasping at straws here. Then they also tell me you will ensure that all documents are properly disposed of to protect the taxpayer's confidentiality. No, see, that's not true. The CRA, technically, you don't have to. You're supposed to keep your files for 7 years. In some cases, 10, depending on which industry that you're in. So I ask my clients, do you want me to destroy your files or do you want me to keep them here in Panama? If the client says keep them, then they stay stored. It's a very small fee, folks. It's $50 a year. That's all that it is. The files stay where they are. If they want them destroyed, I jump on what do you call that? WhatsApp with my client, and I say, here's your box. I show them all the files, and we take them to a fire pit right beside the Panama Canal, where you got a beautiful view of the Bridge of the Americas. You got a beautiful view of all the ships coming through the canal, and we torch it. We torch it. So we always have a good time with our clients. You know, like I'll actually put the phone up on the stand, so they're having a virtual campfire with me, and it's a chance for us just to talk on a personal level, because I do talk. I have personal conversations with my clients. I want to get to know them, and it's a good idea that they know me, because ultimately they do trust me with their files. So they should know more about me than just my public persona. And then it says, you must comply with all provisions of the applicable legislation. Example, the Income Tax Act and the Excise Tax Act. Now, that is a lie. You, me, we do not have to comply with the Excise Tax Act, nor the Income Tax Act, nor the GST Act, and nor the CRA Act. That is not for we the people. Laws are the rules that govern the entire society. Laws pertain to everybody, regardless of age, race, color, status, wealth, or whatever. Laws are not acts. An act is a set of guidelines that pertain to a set number of people in a set industry doing a set job. The Excise Tax Act pertains to the CRA, not to us. So I don't have to do a goddamn thing in the Excise Tax Act. I choose to because it works to my advantage, but I don't have to. There's nothing in any law that says that I must comply with the act. All right. So if laws are up here, acts are below my kneecaps. They're way down. The CRA has to abide by the act. You and me don't. So everything that they've put in this letter is an absolute lie. Then here they go on to say this. We have noted that actions taken, such as sharing the recordings of conversations with CRA that discuss taxpayer accounts, demonstrate that you have failed to abide by these terms and conditions of use. Well, again, They say it themselves. I got to get permission, which I do. Too bad. The protection of taxpayer information is of the utmost importance for the CRA. No, it's not. You got hacked again. No, it's not. You don't care about their privacy at all. You lying piece of shit. God, no. This is the type of thing that infuriates me, right? Because you've got terrorists and criminals acting pious. Can't stand it. And the law says that if I went to the CRA head office in Winnipeg and started shooting, I would be in the wrong. Got to write those laws differently, I think. Well, it says that the protection of taxpayer information is of the utmost importance to the CRA. As such, we will no longer recognize you as a representative for personal, business, or any other accounts under the administration of the CRA. Well, first off, the CRA does not have administration. They don't administer you. They harass you, they needle you, and they tell you that they want money. That's all they do. They're not administering anything. Nobody who's paying taxes in Canada, who's got a brain in their heads, is doing so willingly. Everything that they're doing is a facade. It's all threats. It's all smoke and mirrors. What they've done is they've convinced all of us that we have to do these things. And in reality, we don't. So then they go on to say that, please note that a copy of this letter is being sent to you. Should you have any concerns, you may communicate to those in writing at the above address. Well, I want to say to the CRA, you do not have the authority to tell me that I cannot represent my clients. First off, the case law is quite clear. There's over 100 cases in Canada that state that someone who's not a lawyer can represent anybody at any time. Secondly, Clause 15 of the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights states that anybody can choose anyone they want to represent them at any time. So the CRA, if you're wondering, is the CRA afraid of me? They're terrified of me. To send that letter to me and expect me to comply with it, that's fear. Understand now what I've been saying all along? The government is afraid of us. When we are not afraid, when they come across someone like myself or Chris Sky or Pastor Archer Pawlowski who sees through the entire facade, the veil, we see through it. All they have is threats. If the CRA was smart, they'd say, hey, look, Johnston, you've got this capacity now to cost us the better part of $1 billion. Why don't we cut you a check for $50 million and you go retire so that we can keep stealing money from people? You figure they would try that. But they're stupid. They think this is going to work. They think that threats are going to work. And they're not even coming at me with pistols. The Calgary police pointed guns at me. At least they tried something a little bit more frightening. But this is not frightening at all. This is the CRA afraid of us. So all of us can start to do these things and make them deathly afraid. CRA staff believe that they've got the right to harass you and needle you and threaten you. And they also believe that they don't have any right, or you don't have any right to repercuss, to avenge yourself. They think that they're protected. They're not. They're not. And I just got to give a warning now to the CRA. This is not a threat. I'm just warning you that the state of Canada right now, for most Canadians, is worse than the Great Depression. The dirty 30s. People are desperate. People who are desperate are going to be looking for someone to blame. Now, someone who's had their home and their money taken from them by you is going to be looking for a little bit of vengeance. All of you who work for the CRA right now, I promise you, and I'm not encouraging anyone to do this because it's illegal, but I'm telling you, people are going to come looking for you. When you take a man's house, he's going to come get you. You catch him on the wrong day. Now, I will say that, the guy that shot the CRA representative or walked into one of the offices and killed them all, what he did was illegal. But I would also say this, absolutely justified and 100% moral. Because everybody who works for the Canada Revenue Agency is a thief, an extortionist, an intimidator, a liar, a dissimulator, and a criminal. And you've been that for your entire career with the CRA. You've destroyed millions of lives. I hope and pray every day that the people that you've wronged who have nothing left don't go to Canadian hospitals and get maids where they commit suicide in hospital, but instead come looking for you. I hope that happens. And I'm warning CRA representatives that it's going to happen. If you work for the CRA, they're coming for it. I'm not, because I'm having so much. It won't be me shooting you, just so you know, CRA people, it ain't me. I don't need to. You're already afraid of me. And you are. It doesn't matter how tough you think you are. If you are a tough person, come to Panama. There's a boxing ring right here in my neighborhood. I'll get a referee and we can duke it out. And then you can show me how tough you are. But you're not going to do that, of course. You're afraid of me, what I represent. When I start training others to do what I do, you'll be afraid of them. And when Canadians start coming at you and killing you for taking their stuff, first off, I'm on that guy's side. And I'll be the one applauding him. And you will all deserve it. And then you'll know what real fear is. I've been hunted. I've had 7 legitimate attempts on my life. I know what it's like to live, having to look over your shoulder. As a Canadian citizen with a big mouth like mine, I always had to look over my shoulder. Someone always had a hammer or a knife or something to hit me with. I got bricked 2 days before I left Canada forever. So I'm telling you that it's coming. And I pray for it every day. Okay, CRA staff? I think it's time for anybody who works for the CRA to accept the fact that you're the ones in the wrong. You don't have any laws. You have acts, but you don't have any laws that back up your right to do this. Not one. You're all criminals. You should all be in prison. And when Canada finally does take its one big final collapse, you're going to be hunted. And I'll be here in Panama, rich as shit, laughing my ass off at you. And if people, let me tell you, I got to be honest with you people, okay? With everybody. The desperation out there is now to the point where people are putting on GoPros and they're putting helmet cams on and so on. And they're committing crimes on camera for internet clout because they don't have anything else in their lives. No one's afraid to commit crimes anymore. You understand how stupid you are at the CRA? When people finally snap, and they will, they're going to put GoPros on their foreheads and they're going to hunt you with weapons. And they'll hack you to pieces and they'll do it with the cameras on their heads. And they're going to put it out for the world to see. Trust me, it's coming, man. Remember Peel Regional Police back in my hometown when I told you guys that unfettered immigration was going to have it to the point where all the Islamic gangs out there were going to start attacking cops? And what did the cops do? They arrested me for saying that because it's racist. Well, now Muslims are attacking cops all over the Greater Toronto area. Told you. You should listen to me. One thing I know is people. So that's enough of them. Enough about that one. All right. Now, somebody asked me a question here. I'm just going to go back and check a couple of your questions out. Randy, nah, they're not tapping my phone. I actually have my CSIS file, and they're not tapping my phone. I'm not worried about that. Ian is asking me, are taxes voluntary? Yeah, the only obligation you have there, my friend, is just send a tax return in with no numbers on it. You don't have to give them any money. There's no debtor's prison in Canada. You can't do time in Canada for owing money to anyone. So everyone's got to get that idea out of their heads that there is some penalty for not paying money to some loser at the CRA who says you got to give it to them. What you got to do is you got to hire me and I'll get rid of the CRA. I'll get you your tax money back. This is what I do. I go through people's taxes, fine tooth comb, and I find every single thing the CRA did wrong. And I also find every single thing that your previous accountant did wrong. I find all the write-offs that are legal that your accountant didn't put in, and we resubmit your taxes properly. And the CRA's got no choice but to give you back all your money. They have no choice because I'm doing it properly. When you're dealing with accountants out there, everybody, what I would like you all to do is I'd like you to ask your accountant that you're thinking about hiring 2 questions. Question A, Can the CRA strip you of your license if you don't do what you're told? Question B, if an auditor contacts me, will you cooperate with the auditor? If the answer is yes to either or both of those questions, walk away. Don't hire that guy. The CRA does not have the capacity to strip an accountant of their license. Any accountant that believes that is a retard and a coward and a loser. Get rid of them. Anyone who thinks that that auditors actually have authority in Canada is a retard. Get rid of them. Auditors, I ban them from people's offices and properties all the time. Whenever an auditor sends out a letter to one of my clients, I call the auditor saying, and I'm polite, I'm very, very, very nice until it's time not to be. I'll tell them, listen, I want to say thank you very much for this opportunity, but we're going to decline the audit. And they always say, well, okay, well, thank you. We'll go ahead and cancel that. That's it. They don't cry or scream or argue. They don't quote laws because there's no laws to back them up. Yeah, I'm even so polite that I'll say to the auditor, listen, if you could tell me what you're looking for, when I conduct the audit privately, I'll look for it for you. Oh, and it's okay. We don't really have anything specific. You know what that means? It means they're going to come to your office, frighten you, and then give you a tax bill. That's all that it means. So hire me, and the auditor goes bye-bye. And of course, we're going to go to the auditor's social media and find out who they are. We're going to look them up. We're going to try to find out where they live. We're going to try to find everything out. Because when we ban CRA representatives from your property, we're also putting no trespassing signs on your property with that person's name and face on it. Yeah. And then you're taking pictures of it, and we're sending those pictures to the CRA saying, it's official. You're banned. There's the photo. I had this Chinese guy working for the CRA, and I sent him over the photo saying, you're banned from the property. Oh, you can't do that. You put my face over there. It's so embarrassing. No, take it down. Like, I mean, not take it down. No, it's not your property. It's my client's property. That stays there for the next year. Don't go or you're getting arrested. It's that simple. Isn't that great? Isn't it great? I had one CRA, this guy's last name was Kwan. So he's Korean. I sent him a no trespassing notice with his face on it from LinkedIn. And he calls me up saying, I've never heard of anybody issuing a no trespassing notice. Is this for real? I said, yes, it is for real. But if you're curious to see if it's not, then by all means, continue to show up at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning like you've threatened. And there'll be 2 police cars there within 2 minutes because I will be on the phone with my client at that time. He said, no, there's no need. I'm not going to go. Everything's going to be fine. No, not Kwan. It was Kwan, Kwon. Kwan is Japanese. Kwan is Korean. And I know the difference between a Korean guy and a Japanese guy. I can tell. Hey, give me 1 second. I need some water, folks. Hold on. All right. So, everybody, fear is, it goes both ways. So the CRA, they are afraid of anybody that fights back. And what will happen here is that they'll eventually just discontinue bothering you when you make them afraid enough. Just keep on them. You know, like I've told the CRA now in this program, I'm not coming to Canada to hunt them down with bows and arrows and guns and whatnot, but I'm going to hunt them down virtually, I guess we'll call it, and through private investigators, because we're going to find out where they live. Because if they are rude, and I hate rude people, when CRA staff are rude, I instantaneously right off the hop, I start off. Even if I'm going to lose money on the account, doesn't matter. We find out where they live. I just start that off. You're not going to talk to me like that. And when I'm angry, I'm motivated. And it takes a lot to get me angry. I'm not one of those guys that just flips off and gets mad for nothing. It takes quite a bit to get me there. And there's been 2 reps so far that got on my nerves to the point where, I got the private investigator out and I said, find them. And they've got a surprise coming. They've got liens coming against their property very, very soon. So for me, I would not, if I was looking for vengeance against CRA staff for something they did to me or my family, I would not be going to their homes to harm them physically. I would be taking their homes from them. I would push it. I would dedicate 24 hours a day to making sure that I took that home over to put them on the streets where they belong. Even if they have a newborn baby, should have thought of that before you attacked other people with newborn babies. You're on the street. Collectively, everybody, we could do this, If we were to find a good way to get a good investment fund going, we could make millions of dollars in the crypto market and use all that money to keep the private investigators employed 24 hours a day, looking for where CRA staff live so that we can start putting liens on their properties and suing the shit out of them, putting flyers around the neighborhood saying, did you know John Smith at 12 Drury Lane works for the CRA and steals money from people? CRA staff need to be shunned from society. They need to be put in the proverbial back of the bus and then glued to the seats and never be allowed to leave the back. They have to be away from decent people because nobody who works for the CRA is a decent human being. There's a couple of people in my life that feel that I'm a bit too harsh with that opinion, but if your job is to steal money from good, hardworking people, you're a criminal. You're not a good person. Even if you are a CRA representative with a little bit of a conscience and you call people saying, look, I don't want to do this. I don't want to put your file into collection. Then don't do it. Don't tell me you don't want to do something and then go ahead and do it. I could go to your front door and say, I don't want to, take your dog and pick it up and beat it to death on the asphalt. I don't want to do that. But then I go ahead and I do it. I'm pretty friggin' evil, don't you think? It's the same idea. Okay, Deborah. What if they freeze your bank account because you don't pay or you don't file? Deborah, the quickest way to get that done, 1, we file an objection. 2, we threaten the bank with a lawsuit. 3, we just redo your taxes. I get them redone ASAMFP. And when they are done my way, that bank account's going to be unlocked within 3 weeks or less. That's how I do it. How do you put a lien on someone's property? All right, here's what you do. You hit them with everything imaginable: defamation of character lawsuit, tort harassment lawsuit, and all that. Then we file motions in the court, ex parte motions, so that they do not show up. The owner of the house does not show up and state that I've got this $10 million lawsuit against the person and this $7 million lawsuit against the person. I would like you to put a lien on the property and freeze everything they have until the end of the trial. So could you imagine if we froze their bank accounts and we froze their properties in place and the trial doesn't even happen for 1.5 years? Wouldn't that be something? Also, you didn't hear this from me, but you could open up a contractor's company, an actual corporation, and just go ahead and put a dozen contractors' liens on the property. And then eventually, it's illegal to do that, but you could to make a point if you wanted to. There's nothing stopping you from doing it. And then what they got to do is they got to spend money with their lawyer. So could you imagine if 60 people all put a fake contractor's lien on the house of a CRA representative or a politician? And they got to go and they got to fight all that. They got to fight each one. You could bankrupt them. Could you imagine hiring a lawyer to get rid of 60 liens? What do you think that legal bill would be? I think it'd be somewhere around $20,000 per lien. You can bankrupt these pieces of shit. But we, the people, have to get together, form an army, and start doing this stuff. It's one thing for you to applaud me when I'm saying this to you on the show, but it's another thing to actually start to do it. And these are things that we, the people, need to do. All right, back to the questions here. Back to the questions. Okay, as for all these credit cards at Walmart and crappy tire and whatnot, please don't be like my mother. Every time my mother went to a store, some idiot would say, "Oh, did you want a MasterCard?" "Oh, okay." And I'd ask my mother, "Why the fuck did you do that?" "Oh, I don't want to be rude." Be rude. It's rude for someone to interfere with your shopping time, to ask you if you want to. No, don't talk to me. Who are you? Absolutely not. Yeah, so my dear old mom got herself into a lot of trouble. I had to do a lot of fixing on my mother's accounts. So don't ever sign up for cards like that. If you want credit, go and ask for it at a real credit institution. Don't do it in some retail store where some punk kid gets a $25 commission for filling it out. Now, one thing that I used to do is I would fill these things out with my pets' names, Meg, Rover, Billy, like whatever. And the cards would actually show up. And then you would call a toll-free number, which we would do from a payphone, and we'd activate the card, and the card would work. Now, we'd get about 5 or 6 transactions to go through. So usually it was dinner and a movie, and they would cut the card because at that point they would want you to call in and give your identification up. It was easier back then in the 80s and 90s to just get all kinds of credit cards coming in the door. Now it's not. And if you think it's a good idea to give your identification to somebody in a store, you should get your head examined. It's really not a good idea. Okay. Just having a look at your questions here, folks. I'm going to head over to the Facebook room and check out your questions there. All right. Someone's asking me what my thoughts are on the Saskatchewan and BC elections. Hashem, good question. And let me just tell you the truth here, guys. Since I've learned something new with reference to Canada Revenue Agency policies, I have found a way to use one of their own policies against them. Since I've learned that, I have not watched any Canadian news in the last 6 days. And I mean literally nothing. For me, it's been nothing but tax work for my clients. Like, look at my eyes. I'm bloodshot, man. It's been that. I'm at the point now, Hashem, where I've accepted the fact that British Columbia is done. It's finished. It's all over. Communist China is going to own it very soon. It's too far left wing. So all the left wing nuts, the Antifa idiots, all the teachers unions, all of them, they're all going to be traitors and help Communist China completely take over the entire West Coast. You know, you've got Vancouver, North Vancouver, and Richmond. It's all Chinese. And then you've got Surrey. It's all Pakistani and Indian. There's no white people really left anymore in Vancouver. And the ones who are there are browbeaten and their spirits are broken. So I don't give a shit about British Columbia anymore. In fact, if you are in British Columbia, everybody, you know that they're going to jack property tax again. You know that they're going to increase the provincial sales tax there. You know that there will be more hidden taxes coming in because the province is broke. British Columbia actually trades on the New York Stock Exchange, and it's not doing very well. Get out. You got to go. It's not like there's any intelligent people running that place right now. Think about how beautiful the scenery of British Columbia is, and think about how poorly it's run. Biggest problem with Canadians is they don't know how to run anything except into the ground. So British Columbia, Vancouver, it will rip itself apart with all the gang violence that's going on now. The homelessness problem is going to get worse. And because the weather in Vancouver is at least palatable all winter long, there'll be more homeless showing up there. The country's finished. It's done. I don't even care about Canadian politics anymore. Van City, can I return to Canada? Yes, at great risk, not to imprisonment, but great risk to my life. The Islamic fatwa on my head in Ontario has been taken very seriously. I have knife scars from Muslims that were attacking me with knives because they were instructed to by some loser reading out of some book because I dared to be the one guy that told the truth about radical Islam. So it's pointless. Here's the question, the better question though, Van City. Is there any advantage to me to returning to Canada? And I can't think of one. I'm hyper-focused here in Panama because I've got great weather, great people. I live in a great neighborhood. I don't have to worry about anything because my grocery bill is $30 a week tops. If I feel like going to a restaurant, I can have an incredible meal for $8. And I mean an incredible meal for $8. The hospitals here are better than every hospital in Canada combined. The public transit here is absolutely incredible. And there's no LGBTQ shit here. If I go back to Canada, you know what I'm going to have to look at? 500-pound lesbian cops running around town, like with haircuts worse than mine, screaming at people, pride flags everywhere, males wearing dresses and high heels. That's the shit I'm going to have to look at if I go back to Canada. That is not what I want anything to do with. That stuff takes away my focus. As a hypermasculine man, as I guess we'll call it a polite alpha, if you will, I don't want to be around those beta cucks anymore. Beta males drain my resource. They drain your mental faculties. Alpha males are focused singularly on the goals that they want to achieve during the day. I'm focused on crushing the CRA. If I go back to Canada and I got to see losers wearing dresses all the time, and I have to put up with left-wing politics and that Bill C-63 that's going to put people in jail for offending perverts, what focus will I have while I'm there? I'm going to be going back to looking over my shoulder. That's what's going to happen. I'll be going back to that. Because if the Antifa losers find out that I'm back in Canada and the police find out I'm back in Canada, they're not going to be arresting me, but they are going to be assaulting me and attacking me and trashing my vehicles and everything else. Forget it. It's pointless. I stick out like a sore thumb in Canada, which is fine. I know that I am very much opposite what every Canadian is. That's fine. I need to be away from the mundanity that is Canada to stay hyper-focused. So for me to go back to Canada, there's nothing to go back to except for pain and misery. And I'm not interested in that because it doesn't pay. There you are. Deborah, get a hold of me, please. Absolutely. Foxy, I missed your question. Go ahead. Oh, here we go. Can they take money from an estate account? I think that they did. Okay. Hey, Foxy, that's a very good question. In Canada, when your loved one dies, let me spend about 10 minutes on this answer, if you don't mind. When a loved one dies, everybody is eager to start to tell the world. You get on Facebook, my dad died. You want sympathy. You want condolences. You get on all your social media and talk, and you call all your friends, my dad died. Don't do that. It's a private thing. Mourn the loss of your loved one quietly. Don't tell the world. Mourn. Take the death certificate. Drain all the bank accounts. Everything. Don't tell anybody about it. When the bank accounts are drained, go through safety deposit boxes. Drain all of those. Get everything into a safe and secure location, even if it's going to be in cash. Don't tell anybody that you've got a death certificate and that you're doing this. You do this privately and quietly. When you've now taken everything, you've got the cars moved into your name or a corporation's name. You've got your parents' properties moved into a corporation's name or your own name. You've got all their bank accounts drained. You've got their life insurance policies changed into your name. You've gone through the gold and the silver, the debentures. You've shut down all the contracts that they've had because they're not yours, like Netflix and I don't know, whatever monthly thing that they were paying you. You just cancel all that stuff one at a time. Just dedicate one day to canceling contracts. Get all that out of the way. Would you like to know when you tell the CRA your parents are dead or your loved one is dead? 3 years after you've completely cleared up the entire estate. You're not obligated to do a dead person's taxes. There's no obligation to you whatsoever. So the CRA will come gunning for the estate if you are stupid and tell them, my dad's dead. My mother did that. 2 hours after my father died, my mother made a phone call to the CRA because she was afraid of going to jail. The stupidest fucking thought process ever in this lifetime was, my husband of 45 years is dead. The first thing she does is calls the CRA. That's how fucking brainwashed people are. Think about that. When the CRA got that phone call, they couriered out an assessment and she just paid them because she's an idiot. I love my mother, but she was an idiot. Complete idiot. Don't be an idiot. Don't think for a second that any of you are obligated to tell anyone that a family member is dead. You're not obligated to share that information with anybody. Keep it quiet. Your parents worked hard for what they have. If they want you to have it, you should have it, not the CRA. If you have a loved one who's in the process of dying, get a hold of me so that we can set everything up in advance so that there are no taxes. There's nothing. And when the CRA comes calling 3 years later, and all you do is you don't even do tax returns. You send a letter in with a copy of the death certificate. You saying, to whom it may concern, probably Bob Hamilton, the commissioner, this is to let you know that social insurance number this, John Smith, has not been valid since this day of death. Here's the death certificate. Do not contact me. We are not interested in talking to you. And there you go. Now you're done. If the CRA sends you a letter, call the police and tell them you're being intimidated and threatened. Because what will happen here, the CRA's only got 2 years to come at you for the estate. That's why you wait 3 to tell them. Shut up, is what I'm saying. Stop talking. Don't look for sympathy. Don't believe that you're obligated to do anything for anybody else. You're not. You have no obligations to anyone. And the only exception to that rule is you have an obligation to supply the necessities of life until your children are 16 years of age. That's your only real obligation in this lifetime. That's considered a legal one. Okay? So estates, I'm good at estates. I'm very good. It's always best, though, to contact me before the loved one dies. But when the loved one does die, you got to contact me first. Now, here's a scam that's going on in Canada right now. And if this happens to you, you got to call the cops. You got to file criminal charges right away. Lawyers are sniffing. Lawyers are broke in Canada. They're broke because so many of the things that you needed a lawyer for before, you don't need lawyers anymore. The resources are out there. You can go to $10lawyer.com in the States, for example, and get legal stuff done for $10. You can ask ChatGPT now to write you a lease agreement within the confines of the laws of Saskatchewan or New York. You know, and they're good too, right? They hold up in court. So lawyers are now useless. Don't need them. So what they're doing is they are deliberately putting themselves down as the representative of estates before people are even dead. Yeah, they're doing this. So when someone dies, you're going to find out that there's some lawyer just put the property in probate. You got no idea who the lawyer is. You go through your parents' records and there's no record of a single transaction with this lawyer. And they're lying, saying, oh, we were retained by your parents just 3 weeks ago. Yeah, bullshit. This is what they're doing. So the best thing in the world that all of you can do is protect your property. Now, one thing I also got to say, when you're coming to me for anything, I'm going to tell you the truth. And when I talk to people in some cases, they don't like the truth. But you got to hear it. Someone's got to tell it to you. If I think you're being foolish or outright stupid, I'm going to tell you. That's dumb. And here's why. I'll tell you all the punishments that come with it, which is typically losing money. So if you're hiring me, you got to understand, you're hiring a guy who's I'm highly motivated and I'm highly driven, but I'm really honest. And I'll tell you what you're doing right and wrong. If you're going to be afraid to do the things I'm telling you to do, you're going to fail. I had somebody just a month ago, we did their entire tax return. We got them back a check of $16,000. I said, congratulations, the file's closed. This individual, I won't even say male or female, said to me, oh, I don't know, I'm really worried. You know, I'm afraid of them. So she gave them back the check and submitted her taxes to them the way that she had done them incorrectly in the first place. So what will happen here is they will graciously accept the $16,000 check. And now they're going to hit her for double, maybe triple what the original tax bill was. And I said to her, look, I don't trust you. You have to trust me, but it goes both ways. I have to trust my client to do the right thing. And what she just did is destroyed herself. I said she. I'm not saying who. And at this particular point, as much as it troubles me that she's now going to be in a lot of financial trouble, I can't help her. And I'm not going to either, because I'm not the kind of guy that wants to be defied when we make a deal. If we make a deal, when you sign off on everything that I do, I don't submit anything to the CRA until you've seen it and I've explained it and you sign it. Once you sign it and you renege on that deal, we're done. I have to fire you as a client. Subsequently, if you don't like my attitude, you are allowed to fire me as your agent. That's how that works. I have the best interests at heart of my client because I don't hate my clients. I love my clients. I mean, they pay my bills. I hate the CRA. I hate the Canadian government. I hate the education system. I hate the left wing. I hate all these drag queens doing what they're doing. I hate radical Islam and the fact that it runs the Canadian government. I hate communism. I hate all these things that are hurting us. So when you're hiring me, you're hiring my hatred of the systems that are destroying you. You cannot renege on our deal because it's going to hurt you badly in the wrong. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just going to say thank you. I'm going to ship your files back to you. I'm going to close your file. And the CRA is going to come at you something fierce. When you're coming to me, you're hiring the pit bull with rabies to go at them. And I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do. So let's fix your estates up. If anybody's having estate trouble, get a hold of me, please. All right. How much money is needed to retire in Panama? You could live a very good life in Panama for about $30,000 a year, and that includes rent and food. That's it. So if you've got a pension, you're going to do just fine. And I mean just fine. Plus, you can get residency as a pensionado within 6 weeks. And you'll like it here because it's very easy to live here if you're on a pension. Okay, checking your questions here. Oh, yeah. Every dollar amount that I quote here in Panama is US dollars. Panama has its own currency. It's called the Balboa, but it's tethered directly to the US dollar. So, yeah, that's, I am referring to US. All right, everyone, we've come to the end of another show here. I'm just going to look at your last bit of questions. Spicy. Okay, for everybody who wants to get a hold of me for taxes, don't do it through TikTok, don't do it through Kick, and don't do it through Rumble. I don't have time to go through the private messages. There's a lot there. I have to hire someone specifically just to answer messages there. Get a hold of me on my website because it comes to me on the PC right here. It's in my email box and I can address it a whole lot faster. That's my name, KevinJJohnston.me, KevinJJohnston.me. We'll get that done. Deborah. Okay. If you're, yeah, that's a good question, Deborah. If you haven't done your taxes for a long time, that's actually better. I had a guy come to me, he hadn't done his taxes for 21 years and thought that it was time to do them only because the CRA was threatening him. So we did his taxes and his tax bill was zero. And we got him back, so $7,800 in the carbon tax credits you can get. And then we got him back over $3,000 in GST credits. So he got 10 grand out of the deal. And the bill that we charged him for 10 years of taxes and all the scrutiny that we had to do, it was less than $3,000. Yeah, I've been told that we're nuts for charging as little as we do. Yeah. Can you sell the loved one's property or transfer? Ian, never mind transferring to people. Get the property into a numbered corporation and then make the people you want to give it to directors and or shareholders of that corporation. This is something that I do for Canadians and Americans now. So if you want to get that done, let me know. Is that way there's never any taxes or fees or any opportunity whatsoever for the CRA to get their hands on your property. Manny, you booked a consultation? We're going to talk soon. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, it'll be next week, Manny, because I am booked for the rest of this week. But next week is fine. What's my website address? Oh, here we go. Spicy put it up. There it is. Kevin. Oh, no. Johnston with a T. Spicy. KevinJJohnston with a T. KevinJJohnston.me. Wow. A lot of good questions tonight, everybody. Thank you for that. This has been Your Questions Answered, part 45 on the Kevin J. Johnston Show. Woo! It's been a long day, and I have another 3 hours worth of tax work to do tonight, so I have got to get going. Spicy. Never be sorry. It's all good. It's all good. Don't apologize if you've done nothing wrong. My name is Kevin J. Johnston. This is the Kevin J. Johnston Show that runs every single Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on freedomreport.ca. I love you all. And good night.